Hello and welcome to Burnley College News. Top stories today are: an increase in fly tipping incidents causes the government to clamp down on offenders, and we take a look at proposed fracking sites along the M65 corridor. But first, our top story. Due to cuts in benefits, the government's austerity measures and poverty across the UK increases as food banks are on the rise. We now go over to our correspondent Connor Grace outside a food bank in Burnley to tell us more on the story. Connor?
I'm here outside a food bank in Burnley, which is now feeding hundreds of families across East Lancashire.
With the first food bank being set up in 1984, it's hard to think that the rise in food banks have been happening since then.
Food banks are planning to expand to cope with demand, but with charity organisations such as the Truesdale Trust and Merseyside, why is this the case? We asked members of the public what they thought on the matter.
They are necessary because there are people that actually need them, but the food banks that I've been involved in Burnley don't just supply food to people. What they do, they take note of the reason why people need to be going for food.
Yes, the government doesn't do enough to help with food banks, and the more they took part of this particular problem at the moment, the better for all the community.
Yes, I do agree with food banks because there's a lot of people that haven't got the money or the jobs and everything's going up. So, yeah, you do need food banks, unfortunately.
The number of people using food banks has been increasing since 2010, and food banks are collecting in bulk to keep up with busy days. With so many people volunteering to help out with food banks, you'd think the demand for them would decrease over time. However, that is not the case. We spoke to Mark Hertz, who's a supervisor at Spacious Place, to get his view on food banks and how his food bank helps the crisis.
I think there's been, over the last couple of years, it became political, unfortunately. So it was people trying to blame political parties. It got in the news, so that made more people get interested in it. But also I think the high demand, so the demand of the people that need the food as well.
With the high demand for food banks and the rising number of people using them, will they manage to get food to people who need them? Connor Grace, BC News.